All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar event. This is Joshua. I'm going to be your presenter today. We're here to talk about exporting financial or accounting data, as the case may be. It's promptly 2 p.m. Eastern Time here. My computer's a few minutes behind here, but I'm pretty sure we're at 2. We're going to talk about a couple technical things here before we get started. So if you've attended a webinar event, you've heard this before, please, grab a cup of coffee or, what have you. We'll get started on our topic here momentarily. You've got a little red arrow at the top or sidebar of your control panel there for the webinar. You can click that red arrow. It minimizes the control panel, gets it out of your way. This works effectively if you're using a single monitor, or if you've got a dual monitor setup. Just drag it off to the other second desktop to get the full visual effect of the presentation. We're going to be working together for the next 20 minutes or so. I'm not going to go any longer than that, at least in terms of the topic at hand. It doesn't mean I'm going to be ending the webinar right away. I'll be certainly happy to stick around and see what I can't do to answer questions for folks. If you have questions for me, please type those into the questions portion of the control panel there. I will try my best to keep an eye on it. And to see if I can answer those during the event. If not, they may have to hold off until we're wrapped up with our topic. I simply ask that you keep the questions topical, basically about exporting the accounting data. I'm not equipped for another, to talk about another topic either in my data or perhaps in my thinking or thought process. It's not that I don't want to answer it. It's just generally I'm not prepared for it. Again, of course, you simply have to pick up the phone and call support, folks, if you have other questions. I may actually put off some of the questions onto support. Not good again because I don't want to, but again, we generally need more information. Okay? Finally, before we get started here, just because we do this more and we're doing this more and more, is like to point out that our webinars are based on frequently the training workbooks that we offer for Church Windows. So right here, if I go to churchwindows.com to our new website, I take you to the training workbooks, downloadable and printable. If you've never ordered or purchased these before, I'm using the A201 workbook today. So here's our accounting down here near the bottom. A201 right down here. Let me introduce my highlighter. A201. And we're working with pages page 27 to 31. So right here, exporting financial data, including transactions, accounts, vendors, and AR clients. That's the section of the workbook we're working with. So just an FYI, this isn't just random stuff here. We are calculatedly planning these classes or these webinars based on information that we already have available in print form. If you don't have the workbook, you may want to consider purchasing those, okay? Visit the workbooks, training workbooks page on our website for more information. You can purchase or order them right there, okay? All right, so let's close out of our browser. Let's get back into Church Windows and into accounting, and let's talk about exporting financial data. So, essentially, lots of Church Windows users, they either don't like the reports that our software produces, or they don't have enough flexibility on the reports to be able to produce them, or simply they want to be able to create a report of their own, exporting to a program like Excel. And we're going to use Excel as our example today, okay? Different ways of analyzing the data, essentially, okay? So we do have the ability to, when you go to a report like your financial and say treasurer's report, we do have the ability to choose right here under our treasurer's report the export button and export the report as we're seeing it in the software right into a variety of file formats, including Excel. But there is also the raw data that we can use, that we can export, okay, to manipulate that. And where we find that is under our reports and export at the very top. Let me again grab my highlighter friend right up here, reports and export. And then in the upper right corner here, up in the top center, export. The little arrow kind of circling around on itself, okay? That when we click on that, it brings up a menu and gives us our 3 opportunities to what it is we want to export. Do we want to export data about our chart of accounts, essentially? Do we want to export accounts payable or accounts receivable, okay? Or we can even go so far as to export the actual transactions too. And we're going to show that, exporting transactions, as the very last topic. All right, so somebody's telling me that they're not hearing me. I'm hoping my audio is coming through. This is the only user I'm hearing that's telling me this is the case. I'm sorry. Okay, so it does sound like this user's having problems. Okay, so it sounds like everybody can hear me okay. They just don't appear to be logged on. I'm sorry. Okay, so let's talk about exporting our chart of accounts data first. In this case, we'll choose the one called Export COA Data. And when we click on that, it opens up and asks us what accounting year do we want to what year do we want to export the data for. So it's always going to default to the most recent accounting year or the year that we're in. And so we're fine with that. And if you do have a custom account group, meaning you've created a custom account group in accounting that only brings in or only includes certain or specific or random accounts, you can go into our custom account groups and we can export that if we wish. Okay? For the purposes of our webinar, we're not going to do that. You can't even create a custom group here too using the buttons at the bottom of the screen here. Right down here, custom account groups, you can click the plus sign to add one. But we're not going to do that. We're going to go back to our options. We're going to choose just 2017. Click export. There isn't much on this screen, folks, because it serves a very specific purpose. This opens our export document window or export window and gives us the opportunity to choose send via email or export document. And if we choose just export document, it's going to export it as a PDF file. But we notice here just to the right of export document, we've got the little down arrow. Here is where we can choose the 4 file formats that we want to export the data as. Both of the Excel formats, the old and new, CSV file or text file. So we're going to, for the purposes of our webinar, choose Excel. So we click Excel. It allows us to enter, spreadsheet information about it if we wish. I'm not going to enter anything on that. We simply click OK. We want you to preserve the document or the file beforehand, so you have something that you can compare it to afterwards if you wish. And then when we click Save, it says, do we want to open this file? And the system will recognize that it's an Excel file format, and there is all of the data, our chart of accounts information that we've got in the system in Excel. Okay, like our monthly activity in this case. So we notice here, each month it's spread out, and so we can continue now to work or manipulate the data in the church windows or in the Excel module as we need to. Okay. Again, it is literally that easy. It tells us the type of an account it is, the name of the account, if there was a beginning balance, any monthly activity. Okay? And that's basically what the exporting of the COA data does, is it just exports your basic chart of accounts information. Account number, account name, fund it's linked to, beginning balance, and period activity. And perhaps any comments that were entered for it, okay? But it's literally that easy, folks, okay? So we're not going to save this. We're just going to discard this, okay? But page 29 on our workbook, page 29 does cover that saving of the document, choosing your Excel file format, what have you, okay? Anytime you choose export, whether it's exporting the document or exporting the data, as we're seeing, it's always going to ask you at the end if you want to open the file. We already do have some information, folks, on exporting reports from accounting on our website under a recorded webinar that we've had before. So if you have questions about the exporting of the actual reports, we're not going to really go into any detail on that today. There is an existing movie or video on the website about that. Okay? So let's go back up to our export. And let's choose export vendors, which is basically accounts payable, okay? Accounts payable, vendors, export vendors, same thing. So we choose accounts payable. It allows us to choose specific vendors. So basically, as it points out here, let me get my highlighter friend one more time. If no vendors are selected, then all vendors and payees will be exported, Okay, so that's just an important distinction that that the system tells us that without me having to say it. Okay, there's no control over what you export about these folks. It's going to include all of the vendor payee information in one file. So once we choose the export all, it opens up same thing, our export document window, export window, and again we have more options here. It will choose PDF, but I can't choose image file now, rich text format, MHT, HTML, what have you. Again, we're going to go back to Excel or XLSX. Click OK. Requires we save it again. Do we want to open the file? Click yes. There is all of the vendor payee information that we have about accounts payable in our chart of accounts in Excel. Name, address, city, state, zip code, phone number, account information, tax ID. We don't have any in our data per se for all of that. But any of the information that's on the vendor payee tab on our chart of accounts screen is included in this file. Okay? So if you want to produce labels or something from Excel or something, you can just quickly and easily export that basic information over to Excel. You could export it as, text or CSV file into Word too, for, if you want. Okay? We're just using Excel as an example here. Okay? And exporting accounts receivable clients. I know many of you may not own that, but it's the same thing. It exports the accounts receivable client information just like here. And let me point this out. Under Manage Accounts, if I've got accounts receivable right here and I click on a particular client, I've got the Client tab. Here's all that information. Okay. If I go down to Liabilities and into my Accounts Payable, there's my Accounts Payable. I click on a specific vendor. I've got my Vendor Payee tab. All of this information in this tab is what it exports over to Excel, okay, or whatever file format you're using, okay. And finally, the transactions. This is one that folks will probably want to use maybe more than anything else. Well, not that that's not true. I can't say that. I'm sorry. That was a poor judgment call for me to make that statement. But it's one we get here a lot on support, okay? That if I go up to, say, Transactions and Browse, these are all of my transactions for 2017. We notice here in the upper right corner, I've got my Export button right up there. Let me draw an arrow. Let's see how well I can draw that. Not too bad today. So there's my export of my transactions. Okay, so same thing. If I click on Export, it's basically going to export everything that it sees on the screen here. So if I want to control that, then probably what I need to do is I need to go up to my Change Year, Filter, and Sort up here, go to my Columns tab, and remove or amend or edit these columns that I'm seeing displaying on the actual browse transactions. Maybe I want everything. If so, I would want to put in things like batch code and corrected or reversed, add everything over there. I can set up the order, but guess what? I can generally edit or amend that in Excel too. So if I click OK through that, it now adds those additional information columns. I can now go to Export, opens up the same control, gives me the same options, PDF all the way down to image, including Excel or XLSX. And what I like to tell folks is you can still import a CSV or text file into Excel. You just have to use the import text file or import text wizard or text import wizard in Excel to do that, okay, as opposed to, it creates a fixed width column field file as opposed to the formatting that perhaps Church Windows puts onto the software. But same thing, if I choose XLS or Excel format, click OK and save it, it's basically saving my transaction journal. Once I click yes, there are all of my donation transactions quickly and easily, 3 mouse clicks in Excel that fast, lickety split. Okay. So just by way of demonstration, we've got a few minutes here, about 5 more minutes left here. If I do choose one of my other formats, oh, Josh, I get that call a lot. Josh, I don't like all the formatting that Church Windows puts onto the Excel formats. So I would choose, say text file. Okay. So it allows me to create some text export options here if I wish to. It's a tab separated file, common. So it puts it onto my desktop. That's fine. If I click Save, it says, do I want to open it? Well, sorry, it's opening it in Notepad. So now I'm done in Church Windows now. So I can now go to Excel. Where's my Excel here? Let's go down to my Start menu, Microsoft Excel. Use the File and Open. Go down to change my files of type from all Excel files to text files and browse to my desktop. And then here I've got my transaction journal report. There it is. Simply click Open. It's not an Excel file, so it's going to make me go through the text import wizard file here. So it is a delimited file. Next. It's tab delimited. Next, and finish. And there it is again. Again, all fixed width. Okay? So again, any of these little hash marks here because the column isn't wide enough to see that. So I just have to widen those out to see all that information. Okay? So lots of options for exporting the data from Church Windows Accounting, whether it's the reports or the raw data itself. It's entirely up to you. This is your data, your database, folks. If you have more questions about it, please let us know. Our technicians are available and happy to help answer questions for you. But I'm done with what I'm talking about here, so let me see if I can look at some questions here that maybe folks have about this, and we'll get things wrapped up for the day. Oh yeah, and I didn't mention also that a video of today's webinar event will be available on our website between now and 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. Okay? So just want to make sure that that's clear. So let's see what we got here. When I export a report to Excel, it does not print the entire page as shown. Well, Lori, I'm sorry. I'm not sure about that. That's probably going to, again, I hate to say it, but that's going to require a call to support. I'm not sure why that wouldn't be including that. I mean, check your version of Church Windows, of course, but yeah, please call support about that. We're happy to look at it with you. It doesn't copy to Word anymore either. It shows as portrait, but prints as landscape. So I guess, Lori, I'm wondering, are you Church Windows Web? Are you a web or cloud-based user? If you are, then that's something we can probably help you with through support. Exporting as a text file doesn't work either because anything you try then puts the report and prints on the... Yeah, Lori, I think we need to hear from you through support. Sounds like we've got some issues going on there. Please call us. 800-533-5227. Can you run through the import to Excel one more time? Oh, sure, as TSV or text file. Sure, no problem. Easy enough to do. Yeah, this time we'll choose CSV. It's the same function. So if I go to Transactions and Browse, we assume that I've got everything I'm wanting to display is included as part of my export file. I choose Export. I'll choose, CSV file this time. It's comma separated values, so it's a tab. It's a comma separator instead of tab. Click OK. Again, it puts it into my desktop or wherever I want to put it. I'm going to say no to opening the file because, again, I don't have a file associated with that CSV file. But I'm done in Church Windows now, so I can just now minimize it. And then I would go back to Excel one more time. I would go up to File and Open. I have to change my files of type right here because it's going to want to look for Excel files by default. Okay, so from that menu now I have to choose either text files or, well, technically a CSV file is that too. Let me make sure I'm not missing one here. Yeah, text file is a CSV file too. It's just a different delimiter. So it's a text file. So again, I'll go back to my desktop. There's my Excel comma separated value file. Open. Oh, and it did it automatically. It would normally go through the text import wizard for that too, but it looks like it did it for us. So yeah, it's that easy, Teresa. You just have to make sure you're kind of following the bouncing ball. And if you have questions about it, please call us. Now, I'm not an Excel technician. None of ours are. Techs are. You're most welcome, of course. I'm not an Excel tech. I know Excel some, but not enough that I don't support it. I support Church Windows. So, you're on your own once you get things into Excel primarily there, folks. So it's not because we don't want to. We just can't. Okay. So It's almost 20 minutes after exactly, folks. We hope this has been helpful for you. Again, please look for the movie event to be on our video on our website by no later than 5 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. We hope to see you at another Church Windows User Group webinar event. And thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Take care. Bye-bye.